Y ahora es un honor para mí presentar al destacado Klaus Schwab, quien, como sabemos, es el fundador y presidente del Foro Económico Mundial. También es creador de la Fundación Schwab para el Emprendimiento Social y del Foro de Jóvenes Líderes Globales y la comunidad Global Shapers. El gran reinicio da nombre a la propuesta del Foro Económico Mundial de transformar el modelo económico tras la pandemia. Propone reconstruir la economía mundial y las relaciones internacionales de forma sostenible para poner a la naturaleza en el corazón del nuevo sistema y establecer un nuevo contrato social para honrar la dignidad de cada ser humano. En este espacio, Klaus Schwab nos contará más al respecto. Les recordamos que esta sesión se realizará en inglés, entonces para poder verla en español, recuerden apretar idioma traducido. Y con eso, I would like to extend a warm welcome, Mr. Schwab. It is very exciting to have you here with us today.
Dear participants, it's a great pleasure for me to join you today for the Peru Sostenible Conference and to talk about how we can improve the state of the world. To improve the state of the world, there is no better place to start than at home. So I'm happy to join you to reflect about how we meet the Sustainable Development Goals in Peru. How can we create a better future for all Peruvians? And how can we preserve the natural riches of the country? Before I commence my remarks, allow me to thank a few people. First, thank you to the organizers for inviting me. It's a great honor to be recognized as an ally for a more sustainable Peru. Second, thank you to all of you who are here, whether you are from business, government, civil society, academia, or the young generations. Your presence is a proof that we can build together a more sustainable, a more inclusive, and a more prosperous Peru. And finally, on behalf of the World Economic Forum, thank you to our Peruvian partner, BRICA, and its subsidiary, TACA, and to our global partners, BBVA, NL, and Scotiabank for your support of this conference. The past few years have been difficult around the world, and Peru has been no exception, rather to the contrary. From 2000 to 2014, the global commodities supercycle created a lot of enthusiasm around the world. Many emerging markets got ahead and started closing the gap with the advanced economies. Peru was a poster child. Its industry prospered, of course, and by almost everyone benefited. Most workers at that time gained higher incomes, and government could provide better services to all its citizens. But in the past few years, there has been a lot less of this shared progress. The commodity supercycle ended, and the economic pie stopped growing. Unfortunately, just as this economic slowdown occurred, social and political crises erupted as well. And to make matters even worse, in early 2020, the pandemic reached South America, leading, particularly also in your country, to enormous human and economic suffering. It is hard, certainly, to remain optimistic in the face of so much adversity, so many challenges. But I believe that we can create a better world. In this time of crisis, We should remind ourselves of the old English sayings that the darkest hour of the night comes just before dawn. When we all work together after a devastating series of crises, we together can build a better future, a more promising future. I experienced this myself in my own lifetime. I grew up in the rubble of Germany and Europe after the Second World War. For a while, it was hard to imagine that the continent would ever emerge more prosperous after this destructive war. But as of the 1950s, the miracle did occur. Germany experienced what we called a Wirtschaftswunder. France had its Trente Glorieuses, and all of Western Europe prospered. This didn't happen through a coincidence. Of course, foreign aid helped. The United States set up a Marshall Plan and encouraged economic cooperation. But what really made the economic miracle possible was the will of all actors in society to come together and to build, to construct a better future. Everyone contributed to the higher goal of shared progress, and everyone got their fair share of the pie. Everyone understood that only by working together we could get ahead as a society. I understand how hard it must be to believe that such a positive outcome is also possible today in Peru. The social divides run deep. Political crises have eroded the belief in government. The consequences of climate change are already affecting many in your country. And unless higher economic growth returns, it will be hard to solve the persistent inequalities of income, wealth, and opportunity in Peru. But amid all those crises, a better future is possible. We just must believe in it, and we must act to achieve it. Several countries around the world in the past decades created a virtuous cycle of economic progress, social peace, and political reform. They all belong together. Countries like Singapore and Malaysia, for example, work to root out the social and economic divides that tore their societies apart. And they pursued economic policies and projects everyone could get behind and participate in. I know how demanding it has become in the present circumstances to live up to the development of the social development goals, to the realization of the social development goals. But the present social climate and health crisis shows the urgency to put our house in order and to accelerate our efforts to achieve the SDGs. Everyone benefits from a society where there is no poverty, where there is no hunger, and all people have a quality education. The whole economy benefits when workers have decent jobs and there is gender parity. And both the smallholder farmer and the multinational company stand to gain when we have a healthy climate and responsible production and consumption. So the question is, how do we get everyone aligned behind those worthy goals? I believe that the way to do so is to embrace a model which I call stakeholder capitalism. It is an economic model where every stakeholder pursues their own individual goals, but where everyone also contributes to a common goal. It is a model built on the ultimate objective of pursuing progress for all people and to preserve our planet. What does it mean in practice? Because you all may say, this is very theoretical. But for companies, stakeholder capitalism means that they can pursue growth and profitability, but also social and environmental responsibility. Private entrepreneurship and ingenuity are key building blocks of any successful economy. But companies that adhere to stakeholder responsibility also know that in the long run, their prosperity goes hand in hand with that of society and the planet as a whole. They look for growth opportunities in serving their customers and suppliers well and adding rather than subtracting from society. For government, a stakeholder approach means that policymakers set the overall direction for social and economic progress. Shared prosperity is only possible when structures and policies and the infrastructure exist that give everyone equal chances and opportunities. But the power those in government have, of course, comes with great responsibility and accountability. The duty of those in government is to serve the people, not to enrich themselves or those who are close to them. And for workers, farmers, and small entrepreneurs and other citizens, stakeholder responsibility means that they commit to helping one another. A society can only advance if there is social peace and a social contract. We cannot get ahead if we envy or begrudge each other. Rather than to seek divisions, we seek what brings us together and gets us ahead. If everybody commits to stakeholder responsibility, it is possible to create an economy that works simultaneously for progress, prosperity, people, and the planet. We can replace the current system, which is characterized by inequality, environmental degradation, and corruption, with one that is much more inclusive, sustainable, and resilient in the long run. I have written about this idea in the books that I just published on stakeholder capitalism. It explains in detail the concept of stakeholder responsibility and the roles that various actors have. But we can see this system already at work today. During the early stages of the COVID crisis, we witnessed just how much global progress we can achieve, even in a very short time, when the companies, governments, and other stakeholders get together. Vaccines were developed in record time, thanks to cooperation between governments and business, and always having a common goal in mind. Even in recent months, we saw how some countries that were heavily hit by COVID in initial stages made a comeback when all stakeholders in society got together to beat back the common enemy, the virus. Countries like Uruguay, Portugal, and Belgium which all at the same point lost control over the pandemic, are now leading the world in vaccinations. They did so after everyone agreed that they must their difference put aside and pursue a shared objective. If we are all together here today, it is because we believe that Peru can achieve similar success, both in the short term and in the long run. In the short term, we all have to fight the COVID pandemic, and we have to do it together. And in the long run, we want to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals in Peru. Those goals can galvanize common action and allow us to put our differences aside. I hope and believe that we can achieve a better future, also in Peru. And I think that displaying more of a stakeholder attitude on all levels, on the governmental level, on the society level, on the business level, will help in it. I know the will is here. This conference demonstrates this will. Many young people, business leaders, civil society groups are already leading the way. So bringing together all stakeholders is the essential key for unblocking a more promising future. And I wish you all the best in achieving a more sustainable Peru.
Pues muchísimas gracias a Klaus Schwab por sus palabras. Me quedo con esta idea de que tenemos que creer que es posible un país mejor. Creo que en estos tiempos convulsionados que estamos viviendo a veces es difícil ver la luz al final del túnel, pero un paso fundamental y una precondición para encontrar esa luz es creer que es posible, que está ahí y seguir trabajando todos los días desde nuestros lugares para hacer ese mejor futuro posible y una realidad, porque es lo que merecemos y lo que podemos lograr como país. Así que con eso, ahora sí voy a invitar a Miguel en unos minutos para arrancar con el panel de este último ODS de alianzas. Va a estar súper interesante y es ya la última instancia antes de tomar un pequeño break para el almuerzo. Muchas gracias.